Hey everybody, so we're going to try this out. Berber's favorite pick reaction videos. So I'm just going to pick like a judge show or a show on ID or a reality show episode. And it's just going to be at random and we'll just react to it. So fuck it. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but hey, I do what I want to do. So, let's get started. This is Judge Judy episode 912. I don't even know what it's about. I haven't watched. Oh, and these are always going to be episodes of things I have not seen. I just will pull it up real quick to make sure, it's not somebody else reacting, but yeah, let's go. Let's do this. We'll pause it to react on something stupid they do, by the way. Let's do this.
It's Judge Judy. Dustin Wolf is suing his father, John Wolf, for destroying his fish tank and killing his fish in a drunken rage.
Oh my God, grow up.
All rise.
Sorry.
It's case number 214 on the calendar. In the middle first. This is off. The parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks have.
Wolf, this is your father. And I gather from your papers that you were a tenant of your father's in a home that he owns.
Yes.
He has a property that has a second house on it because the two houses are relatively close to each other. When you moved into your father's home as a tenant, you brought with you a very large...
Okay, he's still a baby because he can't leave his dad. That's like worse than a mama's boy. How are you a daddy's boy? Just saying.
Freshwater fish tank.
Yes.
And at some time subsequent to moving in, you woke up in the morning and your fish tank had sprung a leak.
Yes.
Rather than doing what most normal people would do, which is to resolve that problem, you left to go to work. Before you left to go to work, you called your girlfriend. I assume that this is girlfriend.
Yes.
Who does not live with you.
No.
Okay. So, what the fuck? Okay, you care so much you want to sue your father for the dead fish and it leaking, but if you cared that much, you would have just called into work. I mean, shit, it's nothing to call in sick at work for somebody that just lost the most important, precious thing to him because he's so upset over it. And how is this your dad's fault if he lives in a separate home? I don't get it. But okay, let's see.
And you said, come over to watch my leaky fish tank and see what you could do to keep the mess to a minimum.
I actually prepared stuff around it to keep it from causing damage. I put towels down and some stuff down before I left.
But clearly,
come
based upon
on.
your complaint, the towels that you put around were insufficient to keep the water inside the fish tank because girlfriend, according to your complaint, soon ran out of...
Towels.
That was much later in the day.
That's what she says. Towels. She finished the sentence. So when girlfriend, you can stand up, ran out of towels, she ran next door to your house looking for towels.
Yes.
How many towels had you used up before you went over to Mr. Wolf's house for assistance?
Well, this was earlier in the day. In the morning this happened. I got out of work at 5.
Sorry, guys.
5 o'clock. He said, can you, keep an eye on it? When I got there...
Oh, just a minute. I wasn't thinking along those lines. You got up to go to work.
Yes.
You noticed this. And you didn't come over. What's your last name?
Ramsick.
Miss Ramsick, you didn't come over until 5 o'clock?
That's when I got out of work.
Just a second.
Yes.
That's my question. You got out of work at 5.
Yes.
So what time did you get to his house?
5:15.
Okay. And what time had you left for work in the morning, Mr. Wolf?
At 7.
So from 7 a.m. to 5:15, it was still leaking. Miss Ramsick.
It was dripping, yes.
It was dripping.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how many towels had your boyfriend put around the tank?
I think about 5.
And when you got there, were all the towels saturated?
Not at the moment, no.
Well, if they weren't saturated, why did you go over to Mr. Wolf's house?
I had said earlier when I had gotten there, I said a little bit later I might need to borrow more towels.
You said to who?
Mr. Wolf.
The defendant?
Yes.
You mean you saw him when you got there?
I didn't see him when I got there. It was maybe about 6 o'clock or something because Sheila was cooking and, you know, we usually...
Ms. Ramsey, listen to me carefully. You got there and you didn't see him at 5:15. You didn't see the defendant.
No, I was in the house.
And what was it that prompted you to go over to his father's house?
I needed help. I didn't...
You needed help because it looked as if it was becoming a more serious situation.
Correct.
Okay. Had you used any more towels to clean up? He put in 5 towels. Did you look for any others in his house?
Yes, and he didn't have any.
So he had used up all the towels he had before he left for work.
Yeah, those were the only towels he had.
So now this is your complaint, which Miss Ramsick is going to tell me about because she was there and you were there part of the time.
Yeah.
When you went over to his house, what did you say to him?
I asked if I could borrow some towels.
And he said?
And Sheila said that he might have extra towels that I can use. And then I
Just a second.
asked.
You mean they didn't ask you what for?
They knew earlier in the day that the fish tank was leaking.
How do you know what they knew?
If I needed to ask for towels because...
No, how did you know what they knew? He didn't say he told his father. He said he called you to take care of it. What he said was, I called my girlfriend to take care of it because I had to go to work. I actually thought you went right over there, but clearly you didn't go over for a long time. I want you to tell me what makes you believe that Mr. Wolf Sr. knew what the problem was.
Because I had told him about it.
At what time?
Earlier, when I had gone over there around 6 p.m.
At 6 o'clock. So it was after you saw that you were in trouble. I asked you just what happened. You went to his door, you knocked on the door, and you said to him what?
Well, he wasn't home at the time when I had gotten home. So when I had gotten there later and I said I might need to...
Wow. Guys, I just don't know what to do with that girl. She is so lying.
Need to borrow towels because the fish tank is dripping wet and I might need towels to clean it up.
And
later, you know, we were all just sitting around and later
who was all sitting around?
Sheila, Mr. Wolf, and the 2 neighbors.
And you?
And me.
So you were in their house?
We were outside of their house.
They hadn't gone in to see the fish tank?
No.
Okay, and then what happened?
I decided to go back and check on the fish tank around 9 p.m.
So you went...
Why does the dad look so bothered? Like, this bitch is dumb as fuck. She's fucking this whole thing up. Just saying.
there at 6, and then you schmoozed with them until 9. And when you got back to look at the fish tank, what did you find?
It was dripping and I needed new towels because, I mean, they were...
Where was your boyfriend? He
was-
left at 7 o'clock in the morning.
He was working a storm job, so he had to work overtime.
Okay. So then at 9 o'clock, you go back and look at the fish tank, and by this time it's pretty saturated. And you look, and there are more scenes house.
Yes.
And
I asked him for some towels, and Sheila said, Wolf, why don't you go over and help Ashley? Because at that point, you know, the fish tank was just dripping, and I needed
it's been
to...
12 hours
Yes.
already of just dripping.
But, I mean, I'm just trying to say that it wasn't like spraying all over the place, you know. It was a
It was-
light...
Oh, go ahead.
So I asked if he could help me
Oh,
drain the
geez.
tank just to the point where it wasn't at the hole.
There was a hole in the tank?
It was a pin.
It was like a pin.
Pin.
It was rain, so it was just dripping down the side of the tank.
So he came over,
He came over,
and what did he
and
do?
I gave him a hose to empty the tank.
You gave him a hose, or he asked you for a hose?
He asked me for a hose, and I gave him the hose.
So he came over and asked you for a hose because
Well, that
he
was-
was going to siphon it, something that you could have done. I mean, this is, right?
I mean, I didn't
Know how
know.
to do it.
Yes.
So he said, get me a hose and I'll siphon off the water. And,
He got really upset.
no, just a second.
Okay.
Careful with me.
Okay.
Did he put the hose in the tank?
After he threw the water filter at the wall and threw everything off the top of the tank onto Dustin's bed.
I don't care about that. What I care about, did he put the siphon in the tank?
Yes.
And where did he eliminate the water to?
The window.
And
And he started to siphon the water out, and I was trying to save some of the fish.
how were you trying to, let me ask you this question. How were you trying to save some of the fish?
Because he said he was going to empty
No,
the whole
how
cup
were you trying to save some of the fish?
by taking a cup and I had to stand on a chair because the tank was pretty high and try to get them out that way.
And where were you going? Okay, so you were going to try to save as many fish as you could. And how many fish were there?
There's approximately 25 fish.
Okay, you got 15. Can you explain to me why at 5:15, knowing that this was a leaky fish tank, potentially disastrous for whatever is underneath it, why you didn't empty the fish out of the tank between 6 and 9 o'clock?
Because the hole wasn't far enough to where I would have to transport the fish from one area to another. It didn't seem like that big of a crisis.
There would have been enough water
There would have been
left in the
plenty
tank
of
from
water.
where the hole was that the fish could have survived without an issue.
Why didn't you siphon the water below that line before you went to work at 7 o'clock in the morning? You make it sound so easy, Mr. Wolf.
Well, because
You make it sound so easy, Mr. Wolf. All you had to do was siphon the water before you left for work.
Yeah.
By taking a hose, very carefully, putting the hose in, putting it outside, let the water go down below the line where it was leaking, then you have no problem.
Yeah.
Right?
She's so mean. Why she gotta
Why
be
did you
so
find it
mean?
necessary to destroy living things? Tell me
Because it
why.
was ruining my
That's right.
property.
Tell me, no, the fish weren't ruining your property, so the water leak was ruining your property. And it had been doing it now
Right.
for 12 hours.
Oh my God, did he
Real
really
cases,
roll his
real
eyes at the
people.
judge?
Judge Judy. Dustin Wolf says
Get
his
outta
father,
here.
John Wolf, destroyed his fish tank and killed his fish in a drunken rage. John is countersuing for damage to his home and a false police report.
Go ahead.
I trimmed trees for power lines, and the night before we had a big storm, so we had to do storm response, which is why I ended up having to work all day. So I can't refuse that.
Who's telling you to refuse it?
I woke up and I got the call from my boss saying that we're
Why didn't
working
you
storm.
call your father?
He was already at work.
Is this your stepmother?
This is fiance.
Why didn't you call her?
I didn't think
She was
lived
right
on-
next door.
No, she doesn't live with him. She lives in a couple cities over. He was already at work and there was nobody else around.
How do you know he was already at work?
He leaves for work before me.
So the only one that you could call in this emergency, because you had to leave and you couldn't take the time.
Well, it wasn't emergency,
So
but
where-
it was dripping so slowly. And I had the towels.
Evidently
in
not,
containers.
because he's going to show me what the damage it did to the floor.
I have photos that show there is no damage to the floor.
Great. So what your father did was he took out the fish tank, right? After he siphoned off water, and he says it slipped out of his hand. You say he threw it.
Yes.
Well, we have photos showing that he didn't siphon all the water out. He ended up just dumping it out the window, which my bed got soaked. It soaked the entire wall, the floor, everything. I mean, the outside of the
He
house is
soaked
covered.
his wall.
Yes. Inside of my bedroom.
He soaked his wall.
And my match.
He soaked his wall.
Yeah. I'm saying he didn't siphon all the water. I have the rocks from the bottom of the tank are all down the outside of the house.
God, Mr. Wolf. How old are you?
28. I mean, if I'm renting it from him, it's not currently his wall. It would be my
It is,
property.
no, it's not your property. It's his property that he's leasing to you. So now you're suing him for property damage.
Yes.
For damaging your fish and your tank.
Yes, and a stereo receiver.
What happened to the stereo? The tank was already busted. What happened to the stereo?
Well, as
When
she
he
told you,
threw the filter at the wall, when he first wanted to siphon out, he threw the filter at the wall, and there's water in the filter, and it got all over his
all
stereo
my
system.
electronics.
What happened, Mr. Wolf, when you got to the house? I want you to describe what you saw.
Towels and pans all around the fish tank, catching the water.
So what did you do?
I asked her for a hose, so I stuck it in there, started siphoning the water out the thing until I got down there, and went from there. Drained it out, started taking the rocks out, drop them out the windows, until I could pick this thing up and take it outside.
What did you do with the fish?
I didn't care about the fish.
Threw him out the window.
I threw them in the toilet.
Well, you know, Mr. Wolf, I can understand your frustration, sir.
Yeah.
He was also
What?
extremely intoxicated at the time of the event.
Maybe.
Well, I have text messages from his girlfriend saying that he needs to take responsibility for his drunken actions.
Listen, your girlfriend was with them from 6 to 9. If he leaves for work before you do, what time does he get home?
Around 3.
And was he drinking and drunk when you were there from 6 to 9?
Yes.
Why did you stay?
I mean, because I always like sat around with them when they.
Well, why
know.
would you stay with somebody who was loaded?
I mean,
How long did you live in your father's house, Mr. Wolf?
Approximately 8 months.
How much rent did you pay your father?
I paid him $300 plus all utilities.
And what kind of a property is it?
It's just a small ranch.
It's a small ranch house.
Yes.
Bedrooms?
3
And where is it located?
in Bedford, Ohio.
Is that the going rent for a 3-bedroom house on a lot of property, $300 a month where you live?
No.
So your father was giving you a break.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Wolf, I'd like you to tell me several things. Why did you, understanding that this was a slow leak in the fish tank because it had been going for a while and you knew about it since 6 o'clock?
No, I didn't. She came over leaving. I never saw her in the daytime.
No, she didn't say she came in the daytime. She's over to your house about 6 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, afternoon.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And when she came over to your house at 6 o'clock, she told you why she was there. She was there because there was a leak in the fish tank.
No, she was never there.
You just stand up. When she came over to your house, did she tell you why she was there?
I'm sorry.
When she came over to your house at 6 o'clock, did she tell you why she was at the property?
Yes.
Of course she did. She said there was a leak in the fish tank.
Yes.
And she sat around with you because it appeared that it wasn't an emergency. So my question to you now, Mr. Wolf, is if you heard that there was a leak in the fish
She gonna catch the liar. She gonna catch that liar. Get up. Get up. This is funny.
and she clearly may not be the brightest bulb because I would have taken the fish out of it. I would have taken the fish out and tried to make
Look,
another arrangement
look.
for them in the event something bad happened to this tank. Because a little
He's an
pinhole can
alcoholic
explode
and his son's
anytime.
dating
He knows that.
a girl that's an
He had
idiot.
tape
So,
over it and he fixed it. He
hey,
did everything but do the smart thing,
does
which
it
was
really look
drain it
like a
below that line. Why did
happy
you find
family?
it necessary to go over there as you did and destroy living things? Tell me
Because it
why.
was ruining my
That's right.
property.
Tell me. No, the fish
Oh,
were ruining your property.
oh.
So the water leak was ruining your property. And it had been doing it now for 12 hours.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The humanity
Sir,
of me
you cannot
said,
get
"Listen,
mad."
It's not the fish's fault that the idiot left the fish tank with
When not
as
get
many of the
mad.
fish as I can before I
I mean, there
throw
would
out
have
the
been a
water.
proper way to go about it, though.
You want to do it the
You
proper
knew
way, do
what
it
was
yourself.
going on while that girl, that dumbass girl, was sitting in
Real cases.
your house
real
with you.
people.
You knew what was
Judge
going on.
Judy.
So you should have went
Dustin
over there when she
has
came over
accused
at
his
6 and
father,
said,
John
hey,
Wolf,
it's leaking,
of
I need
destroying
help.
his fish tank and killing his fish in a drunken rage. John claims Dustin
Yeah, I
falsely
believe-
accused him of brandishing a gun.
Now,
She probably went over there, said, I need some help, it's
3
getting to be
minutes
too much. And he
before
said,
going over there
ah.
in a Huffy
Went
snip,
over there
I don't know
all
whether you
pissed
were
off
drunk
and
or not.
mad,
They're
saw
gonna
the
tell me,
damage.
And there's probably some evidence
yes.
that you
And
were.
Yes,
threw
I was.
it
They were
and
drinking with me.
flipped out.
No, he's lying, Your Honor.
No,
All the time.
Did you say, just a minute, she probably was.
Mm-hmm.
Was he home?
No, he wasn't home.
So he wasn't drinking with
Oh,
you.
her.
He wasn't drinking with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Wolf, you are minimally responsible for all of his dead fish.
Okay.
What?
He was so irate during the whole incident. He told her that if I came home and said anything to him, he was going to shoot me.
Listen to me.
And I ended up, it got so bad when I got home that I literally had to call 911.
I know you called the police. That's part of his counterclaim. He was drunk. And part of his counterclaim is that you called the police because he was drunk and a little bit crazy. But as a result of that, he had to go down to the police station for a day or something, and it was inconvenient. That's too bad, Mr. Wolf. That's what happens when you drink and get nuts. Now, what's the cost of
Exactly.
his fish?
Actually,
Exactly.
the cost of the fish.
Don't drink.
Because based on the price I paid for everything, and as I was looking up the cost to replace everything,
I'm not talking about replacing. He's not replacing everything. You left a leaky fish tank. If I were the landlord and came in and found a leaky fish tank, I would have gotten rid of it too, any way that I possibly could. But the humanity in me would have said, listen, it's not the fish's fault that the idiot left the fish tank with a hole in it. I'm going to at least try to save as many of the fish as I can before I
there
throw out the
would have been
water.
a proper way to go about it, though.
You want to do it the proper way, do it yourself. Do it yourself. Call in 10 minutes late.
Yes,
Judge Judy
exactly.
continues in a moment. Closed captioning.
It is not the fish's
You're
fault.
gonna lose this guy.
Who is it?
Doesn't matter. He'll kill both of us.
promise me something.
Yeah.
Don't follow me.
If I just had some cash, I'd get some treatment. Maybe see my son be more. Think you can help me somehow?
I do, but I can't do it alone. I made possible man's innate desire to be challenged.
Getting sponsored by. Since 2009, over 14,000 artificial hips have been recalled. To learn if your artificial hip was recalled, call 1-800-LAW-FIRM now.
If you have high blood pressure like I do, many cold medicines may raise your blood pressure. Coracetin HPP relieves cold symptoms without raising blood pressure.
Really, with
Coracetin
the
HPP.
commercials, though.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Look, this is where my
Are
impatience
you in a
gets out of
family
control.
dispute? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook.
Does she only
and
go-
follow us on Twitter.
Does she only
What
see
is the
family
replacement
disputes?
cost for the fish?
It'd be approximately $150.
Now, your counterclaim, sir, is that the leaky fish tank destroyed part of the floor. Show me.
I also have photos of the spot where the fish tank was.
I would like to see his photos too.
And I also have pictures of the tank where he threw a chair at the wall because he was so aggravated. You can see there's no discoloration. There's no damage to the wall. There's nothing like that as he's trying to claim. I just want to see the phone before it shuts off. There's no damage whatsoever.
That picture's in the closet where all the water went down into, the one I have there. There was carpet in there, and I went to pull the carpet up. There's all mold in there.
Do you have an estimate
Sure.
to replace that door?
He has an estimate from one of his drinking buddies. It's a completely impartial
There's
estimate.
another company, too.
Leaky fish tank caused damage to your father's property. It's your responsibility to take care of it. You're responsible for the damage to the house. He's responsible for the death of your pets, because that's what the fish were. They were pets of yours. And I actually don't think it's the right thing to do to flush them down the toilet. You may think it's okay. I don't. So on your claim, I'm awarding you the $150 that you say would replace freshwater fish. I actually thought it was much more than that for freshwater fish. However, I'm awarding your father $2,000 for the damage to his house. Judgment on the counterclaim for $1,850.
He caused the damage to his own freaking house.
In a moment.
He just
And on
let
the
the
next
shit
Judge
go. He
Judy.
was busy drinking. He could have went over there.
They claimed the phone was already broken, and they left the phone in the curb.
All right. Save that next part for episode 2 of reacting to Judge Judy. Make sure to toss this on my watch later so we can do that. All right. Berber out.